Imagine waking up one day and realizing that your mind has been quietly working against you your entire life. Not in obvious ways, not through loud, dramatic sabotage, but through something far more subtle, far more insidious. A quiet whisper that constantly drifts toward the worst possible interpretation of reality. You wake up in the morning, and before your feet even touch the floor, your mind has already begun scanning for what might go wrong. A message left unanswered, a mistake you made yesterday, a conversation that keeps replaying in your head like a broken record. Why did I say that? What if they misunderstood me? What if everything falls apart? Strange, isn't it? Your life may contain moments of joy, success, laughter, connection, yet your mind gravitates toward the one negative detail hiding in the corner of the room. One criticism can erase 10 compliments. One awkward moment can haunt you for years. One mistake can feel like proof that something is fundamentally wrong with you. Why? Why does the mind cling so tightly to pain? Why do negative memories feel heavier, sharper, more permanent than positive ones? Think about it. You can receive praise from 5 people, yet a single insult will echo inside your mind for days, sometimes years. Your brain will replay it endlessly, dissecting every word as if searching for a hidden truth buried inside the wound. But compliments? They vanish quickly. They fade like footprints in sand after a passing wave. Why does the mind treat suffering as if it is more important than happiness? Why does it rehearse fears that may never happen? Why does it return again and again to memories that hurt? It almost feels like the brain is addicted to negativity. And if that idea sounds extreme, look closer at your own thoughts. Notice what happens when nothing is wrong, when the day is calm, when life is quiet. Your mind doesn't rest in peace for long. Soon enough, it begins searching, scanning, digging through the past, projecting into the future. It begins asking questions you never intended to ask. What if you fail? What if people secretly dislike you? What if you're not good enough? And suddenly the calm disappears. Anxiety replaces it. Doubt replaces it. The quiet moment becomes a storm of imagined problems. But here is the real mystery. Your brain is not broken. In fact, it is doing exactly what it evolved to do. Somewhere deep inside your skull exists an ancient survival machine, one that was designed not for happiness, not for peace, and certainly not for fulfillment. It was designed for survival, and survival has a strange rule. It prioritizes danger over everything else. Thousands of years ago, your ancestors did not survive by focusing on beautiful sunsets or kind compliments. They survived by noticing threats, the rustling in the bushes that might hide a predator, the strange look from a rival tribe member, the bitter taste of a poisonous plant. In that brutal world, optimism could get you killed, but suspicion kept you alive. So the brain learned something powerful, something that still controls your thoughts today. Negative information matters more. Danger deserves attention. Pain must be remembered. And slowly, over generations, the brain became extraordinarily skilled at one thing: detecting what could go wrong. But here is where the paradox begins. The same mechanism that once kept your ancestors alive may now be quietly poisoning your inner life. The world has changed. The predators are mostly gone. The threats are rarely life or death. Yet the ancient alarm system in your mind never turned off. It still scans. It still anticipates disaster. It still treats small social discomforts like existential threats. A delayed text message can trigger anxiety. A minor mistake can feel like humiliation. A moment of silence in a conversation can spiral into hours of self-doubt. And so the question becomes impossible to ignore. If the brain evolved to protect you, why does it sometimes feel like your own mind is the most dangerous place you live? Why does it replay pain more vividly than joy? Why does it amplify fear, magnify criticism, and cling to worst-case scenarios as if they are the ultimate truth? Is negativity truly a flaw in human psychology? Or is it something deeper? Something wired into the very architecture of consciousness? And if your brain really is addicted to negativity, then the most unsettling question of all emerges. What happens when an ancient survival system is trapped inside a modern world that no longer requires it? That question leads us somewhere darker, because once you begin to understand where this addiction comes from, you start to realize something even more disturbing. It is not just your brain that feeds this negativity. The modern world may be amplifying it. But that revelation requires us to go deeper, much deeper. To understand why negativity grips the human mind so tightly, you have to step into a deeper and more uncomfortable truth. Your brain is not designed for happiness. It is designed for survival. And survival has always demanded a ruthless focus on what is wrong rather than what is right. Long before cities, smartphones, and social media existed, human beings lived in an environment where a single mistake could mean death. Missing a hidden predator, trusting the wrong person, or ignoring a subtle sign of danger could end a life in seconds. In that world, the mind that noticed threats survived. The mind that relaxed too easily did not. So across thousands of generations, the human brain slowly shaped itself into what psychologists today call a negativity-biased machine. It learned to treat danger as more important than pleasure, pain as more important than comfort, threat as more important than beauty. Your ancestors who remembered danger vividly were the ones who lived long enough to pass their genes forward. And so their brains, hyper-alert, suspicious, and deeply sensitive to negativity, became the blueprint for yours. But biology alone does not explain the entire story. There is another layer, a deeper psychological architecture. This is where the insights of Carl Jung become impossible to ignore. Jung believed that every human being carries within them something he called the shadow, the hidden part of the psyche that contains everything we reject about ourselves: fear, envy, anger, shame, weakness. These darker emotions are uncomfortable, so most people try to suppress them. They pretend they are not there. But the shadow does not disappear simply because you ignore it. Instead, it grows stronger in the dark. And one of the ways it expresses itself is through the mind's obsession with negativity. Think about it. Why do people obsess over criticism more than praise? Why do we instinctively assume the worst intentions in others? Why do we often sabotage our own happiness the moment life begins to feel peaceful? According to Jung, this is not random. It is the shadow attempting to surface. The human mind is drawn to negativity not only because it once protected us from danger, but because it forces us to confront parts of ourselves we would rather avoid. And this is where another unsettling voice from philosophy enters the conversation: Friedrich Nietzsche. Nietzsche believed that suffering was not an accident of human existence. It was built into the structure of life itself. He famously wrote that those who have a why to live can endure almost any how. But most people never discover their deeper purpose. Instead, they drift through life reacting to discomfort, chasing temporary pleasures, and avoiding anything that forces them to confront themselves. And when a mind lacks direction or meaning, negativity fills the vacuum. Anxieties grow louder, doubts multiply, small problems become existential crises. In a strange way, negativity becomes the mind's attempt to create significance where none exists. Then comes an even darker perspective from Arthur Schopenhauer. Schopenhauer believed that human beings are driven by an endless force he called the will, a blind, restless impulse pushing us to desire, struggle, and pursue satisfaction. But the moment we obtain what we want, something strange happens. The satisfaction fades, and the mind immediately begins searching for the next problem, the next satisfaction, the next source of discomfort. Why? Because the mind, according to Schopenhauer, is not designed to rest in contentment. It is designed to want, and wanting inevitably creates dissatisfaction. This explains something many people quietly experience but rarely admit. Sometimes the mind feels strangely uncomfortable when life becomes peaceful. When everything is going well, a subtle restlessness begins to emerge. The brain starts searching for flaws. A relationship feels too good, so the mind searches for hidden betrayal. A moment of calm appears, so the mind imagines future catastrophe. It is as if peace itself feels suspicious, as if happiness cannot be trusted. But the philosophical roots of this negativity do not end there. In the modern world, something else has begun amplifying this ancient psychological pattern, a cultural force that Aldous Huxley warned about long before it fully arrived. Huxley believed that modern societies would not control people through pain, but through distraction and emotional manipulation. And negativity is one of the most powerful emotional triggers humans possess. Fear spreads faster than hope. Anger spreads faster than wisdom. Outrage spreads faster than understanding. Modern systems, media, algorithms, social networks, quickly learn something about the human brain. Negative information captures attention, and attention is the most valuable currency in the modern world. So the environment around you began feeding your brain exactly what it already craves: more conflict, more outrage, more anxiety, more reasons to believe something is wrong. Over time, the ancient survival instinct of your brain collided with a modern environment designed to exploit it, and the result is a mind that rarely rests, a mind that constantly searches for threats, a mind that feels safer worrying than trusting peace. But here is the deeper tension hiding beneath all of this. If negativity is rooted in biology, strengthened by the shadow, driven by endless desire, and amplified by modern society, then the real danger may not be negativity itself. The real danger is how quietly it shapes your perception of reality. Because when negativity becomes the brain's default lens, something disturbing begins to happen. You stop seeing life as it is. You begin seeing life through the distortions of fear, doubt, and imagined threat. And most people never realize this is happening. Which leads to the next and most disturbing part of the story. Because once negativity becomes the lens through which you see the world, it begins to shape your entire life without you even noticing. Your relationships, your ambitions, your sense of identity, your future. And the consequences of that invisible influence are far more profound than most people ever imagine. Once negativity becomes the default setting of the mind, something subtle begins to unfold. Not a dramatic collapse, Not a sudden breakdown, something far more subtle, a gradual distortion of reality. At first, you barely notice it. Life continues as usual. You work, you talk to people, you move through your daily routines. But beneath the surface, the mind is quietly filtering everything through a darker lens. A compliment arrives, yet your brain questions its sincerity. A friend grows silent for a day, and your mind invents reasons why they might secretly dislike you. A small mistake happens at work, and suddenly it feels like proof that you are not good enough. Nothing catastrophic has actually occurred, but inside your mind, the emotional weight feels enormous. This is one of the most powerful tricks your brain plays on you. It treats imagined threats as if they were real. Your body reacts the same way. Your heart rate rises, stress hormones surge through your bloodstream, your muscles tighten as if preparing for danger. Yet the danger exists only in a thought. The brain cannot easily distinguish between a physical threat and a psychological one, and so it reacts to both with the same ancient alarm system. Over time, this creates a strange and exhausting pattern. The mind begins anticipating problems